Should I be letting them in? Chip Kelly is here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Oh, Christian, we're on.
We're on? We're ready?
We're on. We're here. Look at our people all filing in. Hello, everybody.
I'm so excited right now. I think I'm more excited today than when my first child was born, Linda. That's how
Christian,
excited I am.
that's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting. I'm excited that we're seeing faces that we haven't seen in a while. As we get more people in here, Christian and I will introduce ourselves. We'll get you guys hyped up for the rally. Oh my goodness, John Insline, I haven't seen him in a day.
Yeah. So when do you want to kick it off, Linda? We're going to wait a little bit? See if we get some more of these.
Let's see, it's 12 o'clock. So I don't know. We'll probably won't have critical mass till about 12:04. So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce myself, and then we'll ask all of our lovely guests to like identify like how they're attached to Treehouse and what they love about Treehouse. Do we want to do that?
Sounds like a plan.
We're going to be calling some people off of their mics, so be ready to unmic yourself.
Right. So those of you who don't know me, Christian Kelly, I am currently one of the supervisors in our grad success program, and I got the privilege of years ago helping design and implementing the grad success program.
Hello all, and I'm Linda Hall. I'm the Senior Director of Government Relations and Advocacy, and I have had the pleasure of being one of the architects for graduation success way back in 2012 with Christian and Don Rains. So we have been here for a very long time. We have served in many, many roles, and I was in programs for a lot of it before I transitioned over to policy and advocacy. So that's our story. I think we have Christian, who do you think we have in our audience?
Who do I think? We probably have the most important people in the state of Washington in this meeting. That's what I feel. That's what I'm feeling.
So as I'm seeing like the names pop up and like being admitted, I know that we have Treehouse staff, we have donors, we have board, probably some tab members, maybe a handful of caregivers or so. I'm not sure if we have any alum in here, but like all of the people that make Treehouse great are here and are, rallying for us to kick off session, which starts on, what day does that start on? Oh, that would be January 12th.
5 days. 5 days.
I know, but we have been hitting the pavement ever since the summer and into October and November with meeting with tons of legislators. So like for Don and I, it's been months of lots and lots of work, but we want to hear from some folks about like what has drawn you to Treehouse. Anybody? And I'm more than happy to call on people too.
Let's see here. Are we gonna have them put it in the chat, or do we want?
Oh, you guys, you can put it in the chat, or you can come off of your mic and like let us know.
Well,
Okay.
I'll talk if no one else does.
I can't see who's talking. Can you introduce yourself?
That's right. Yes, please, Glenn. Mr. Peters.
Yeah, Glenn.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Glenn Peterson. I have a really soft spot for kids who are not given everything they should in life growing up. I mean, I heard people, sometimes, people criticize, homeless people or drug addicts or stuff, and some people, and some will say, "Oh no, they're adults; they're responsible for themselves. They should do things." Kids have to be given everything they can: proper parenting, proper being raised in a proper way, and I had a lot of advantages growing up, and I think any kid deserve the same. And foster kids particularly seem to have a tough time. The system isn't replete with money. I believe they cut the budget again this year. So I just think foster kids deserve a lot of support, more than most of the charities, most of the other charities that I also support. That's all.
Thank you, Glenn. That was awesome. We have time for like one more person to come off the mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes. loud
Oh,
and
there we
clear.
go.
Yep. I don't know how to get my picture up. I'm Ann Rue. I'll just talk. And I'm in Denver, actually. And I found out about Treehouse. My son and daughter both live in Seattle, and I was actually born and raised there. And one year, my grandson, who's now 21, decided he didn't want to give Christmas gifts. And so his father wisely said, if you don't give them, you won't receive them. So he was okay. I mean, I thought he handled it really well. So he said, my son said to me, don't give Brendan a Christmas gift this year because of his snitty attitude. And I said, instead, I will donate on his behalf somewhere. And that's where I found out about Treehouse. My son gave me your information, and I have continued to be a donor. And I brought that same little snitty grandson a couple of years ago and his sister to Treehouse. We came down and had a nice tour, and they've helped me each year pick out the clothes in the fall for the kids. I get both my grandson and my granddaughter involved with stuff. And my husband and I will be coming one of these days to Denver. We're waiting our turn on a senior living community apartment, and I will come and be in person involved with you then. But you're a great organization, and I'm really grateful at what my grandchildren that have lots of advantages have learned about children in foster care and what that's like. So,
And that is an amazing story. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I believe we are at critical mass with over 80 people, and I am going to turn this over to our fearless leader and CEO of Treehouse, Dawn Rains.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We are so excited. I actually just see my friend Principal Dixon in the chat saying why they're supportive of Treehouse. So excited to have you all here. You are all the group of people who make up the Treehouse community. As Linda and Christian said today, we have community members, board members, tab members, emeritus board members, staff, caregivers, alumni, and this community is making really powerful things happen for our young people. So excited to have you here today. I think, as many of you know, it has been an especially challenging time for Treehouse this last several months. And I just want to say how especially heartened we have been by the way that our community has shown up for us. Very generous support, lots and lots of advocacy and raising your voices for our young people. And we have another important milestone to celebrate today and some calls of action for all of you. So thank you for taking the time to be here because we're going to be calling on you again to help us take the next step. So I always think when we're gathered together that it's important for us to just do a little walk down, a reminder of where we've been and what we've achieved, as well as the challenge in front of us. So as I think most of you know, Treehouse was founded almost 4 decades ago by DCYF caseworkers who were just tired of seeing the young people on their caseloads going without all of the little extra things that make a childhood a childhood. And they started raising money amongst themselves for things like birthday presents, swimming lessons, bicycles, summer camp. And in that spirit of filling gaps for children and youth in foster care has guided us ever since. In the mid-90s, Treehouse turned its attention to the biggest gap of all, the disparities that students in foster care face in their educational outcomes. And we started providing tutoring and college and career planning, launched the nation's very first educational advocacy program in 2001 to remove barriers that students in foster care face navigating their education. So when Washington State first published the high school graduation rates for students in foster care in 2010, fewer than 30% were graduating from high school on time. So almost 12 or 13 years ago now, Treehouse decided to put a stake in the ground and set an ambitious goal that foster youth in King County would graduate from high school at the same rate as their peers with a plan for the future. And in 2013, we created and launched Graduation Success. And I spent many, many hours in a room with Linda and Christian. I have to call out Alexis on our team still today as well. We're the old timers here that were really instrumental in building this model based on everything that we've learned and best in class research. And Graduation Success was really a first of its kind model featuring one-on-one intensive educational monitoring, coaching, and planning for high school students in foster care. And we launched in 7 districts, just using private dollars that we raised from our community. During the 2014 legislative session, then Representative Reuben Carlisle helped us secure $464,000 in state funding to support a demonstration site of Graduation Success. And then we were really excited, led in part by Treehouse, that in 2016, the legislature put into state statute its intention for Washington to become the #1 state in the nation for high school graduation and post-secondary enrollment and completion for students who've experienced foster care. Over time, we've raised more private dollars, and the legislature has invested additional public dollars so that we could expand the program first to every district in King County, then to Spokane and Tacoma, and then to every corner of our state. And for 2 years, we were very excited that Graduation Success and all of our programs were available to every school-age young person in our state. It was a strategy that we have worked on for more than a decade, and many, many of you have made really important contributions to that effort. I'm really proud to say that together we have proven that this is a strategy that works. Together we have increased the statewide foster care graduation rate from 36% in 2013 when we launched Grad Success to 51% today. And we're excitedly waiting for the 2025 graduation rates to see how we're doing. And that rate of increase is twice the rate of increase of the general student population. So we know something is working. We also know that when we serve youth longer, they are more likely to graduate and less likely to drop out than the peers who do not receive our services. So, as you know, due to all of the transitions our young people experience, it often takes our youth longer to complete high school. And one of the parts of Treehouse magic is that we are really good at convincing our young people to stay the course, persisting beyond 4 years to graduate. So even 13 years later, no one has ever done what we are attempting to do at the scale that we are doing it anywhere in our country. And together we have a lot to be proud of, and a lot of thank yous to many, many people in this room for their role in making all of this happen. So when we received the news in late April that the legislature had decided to cut 100% of our funding for Graduation Success, $7 million cut, we had to make some very, very difficult decisions. This drastic reduction represents about a third of our annual budget. In response, we were forced to cut the Graduation Success program for more than 400 high school students currently in foster care, mostly in suburban and rural communities across our state, and we had to lay off about 25% of our staff. I am really, really proud that despite these challenges, we have been able to sustain about 58% of serving 58% of the students that we were serving when we received the cut. We're grateful for the partnership of OSPI Superintendent Chris Rakedahl, who was able to redirect $1.4 million in discretionary funding to help maintain that footprint, to help us serve as many students as possible. Treehouse is also dipping into its own cash reserves this year to the tune of about just over $1 million to really make that sustaining that footprint possible. But both of these funding sources are unsustainable for the future. So this was really a one-time solution to give us a little bit more time to go back to the legislature and say, are you sure you made the right decision? We have been making clear as we've been moving about the community that without restored state funding, we will have to further cut services. I have some good news to share. The first is that we are extraordinarily grateful that for the first time in history, OSPI asked the governor to fully restore our $7 million in state funding for graduation success. That DCYF Secretary Tana Sen also advocated for the reinstatement of these funds, even though the money's not even in her budget at DCYF. Both system leaders agree that this is a critical intervention. As Linda said, we've been very, very busily meeting with legislators and also the governor's chief of staff, his budget director, all of his policy staff in child welfare, K-12 education, and higher ed to make the case for restoring these funds. You all have helped us mount an incredible grassroots advocacy campaign. We had more than 500 people contact the governor asking him to restore the funding in his budget. And we also have to just shout out the incredible support we've received from the Seattle Times. We're having an echo somewhere. Are we good? Okay. Incredible support from the Seattle Times, who partners with us in so many ways, but they have really held the legislature's feet to the fire with news coverage, with editorials, by publishing op-eds around this issue and keeping it really front of mind for the legislature and the public. And as a result, I am thrilled to tell you that Governor Ferguson's budget proposal does include reinstatement of half of the money, $3.5 million for next year. And that would be the year starting July 1. This is given the budget crisis that the state is facing, this is an incredible outcome. And we are excited to move into the legislative session and continue to make the case for this restored funding. I do have to caution you that this is only the beginning, but it is a really, really important milestone. This means that as the House and the Senate consider their budgets, they would have to actively remove this funding because both chambers use the governor's budget as their starting place for their budget. So we're really grateful and appreciative of the governor seeing the importance of this investment. If we are successful, funding restored at this level will allow us to stabilize service for hundreds of young people in foster care, helping them stay on track to graduate, to navigate school transitions, and to take their next step toward education and career. We also look forward to the possibility of restoring service, particularly in Yakima and the Tri-Cities area, if we are successful. The governor's budget sends an important signal that the state remains committed to the students for whom it is legally responsible. And at the same time, proposed funding represents only a partial reinstatement or restoration of the state's prior investment. And so, unfortunately, Grad Success will continue to operate below the scale needed to reach students statewide. So just so we're all clear about what is on the table. But thanks to you, and we hope to the legislature, Treehouse will remain laser focused on our vision that every young person in foster care in Washington state and their adult supporters have the skills, knowledge, and resources that they need to effectively navigate their education, and that foster care and education systems are aligned to support them. Because when we know that our young people can graduate from high school at the same rate as their peers, prepared to implement their post-high school plans, and they can go on to build the life of their choosing without limits. So we have a lot of work to do, and you're going to hear a little bit more, but we wanted to take a moment to hear from one of our graduation success alums who can speak just a little bit more about the impact of this program. We did have two alums, actually live alums, ready to speak to you today. Both of them have gotten sick. Many folks, I think, are under the weather at the moment, and have lost their voices. At least one of them is with us in the room today, and I think is going to be adding some of her thoughts to the chat. But we do have a video of one of our alums talking about grad success. So we're going to go ahead and share that with you now. Excited to introduce you to Sean DeVille, who I'm going to invite to come up, one of our very first graduates. And just one of more than 1,200 extraordinary young people who have now graduated from high school with the help of Treehouse since the program's inception. So we're just going to have a little chat here. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like working with Kevin?
Yeah.
Yeah, with your education session.
I think working with Kevin was very helpful, and I think he provided me a lot of guidance and support and advocacy as related to navigating the school environment. As you mentioned, like being that glue between social workers, between my teachers, between judges, and I think there's just so many people that make up the network that is child welfare. And so it was kind of nice to have somebody that I knew was in my corner, looking out for my best interest, whereas we know that teachers and social workers and people who are coming from different kind of sides of the issue often are looking out for their bottom line. And I think I appreciated that Treehouse's bottom line was being so
Yeah, talk a little bit more about the impact that Treehouse and graduation success had on you over.
Yeah. I would say I think it really helped to increase my connectedness to the educational environment. I think being able to have someone that could spend that dedicated time with me to figure out what things weren't working in my environment and what things needed to be happening so that I could be present. As you mentioned, I really appreciate how Treehouse highlights the entire child, not just their identity as a student or just their identity as a foster kid. I think that they help me to realize the potential of my full self, and just be able to navigate the world with more confidence. I think growing up, I was not a confident individual, and so the program, as well as Kevin's support, really helped to bring a tremendous sense of confidence and agency.
What would be your message to the governor and the legislature about the importance of restoring state funding for this program?
I think what I would just say is just reinforcing the idea that these programs and this funding stream is not without serious impact, in the sense of seeing the lack of support that we already recognize students across the board receive, that we already recognize the additional barriers that students in foster care receive. It's going to have very detrimental effects. And we are going to see a complete reduction in all of the amazing hard work that Treehouse has worked towards in these past years, over these past few decades. And I just wanted to know that it's not an option. It's truly not an option. And I hope that it is something that we continue and that is reinforced, because the children of Washington deserve it.
Thank you so much. Just want to thank Tashawn, who, for those of you who've been around with from the beginning, was part of the very first cohort of 8th graders, the class of 2017, which was kind of the year that we were focused on, and she has gone on to do incredible things and actually will be advocating alongside us for the reinstatement of this funding as we move forward. Jessica, one of our other alums, was kind enough to write out her answers because she's under the weather and her voice isn't working well in terms of what her experience was like navigating the school system and how Treehouse was helpful to her through her journey as well. So I hope you all share in our pride and in their achievements. It was our blessing and privilege to walk alongside them as they navigated their high school journey and beyond. So we are going to move into, I'm going to introduce, put Linda Hall back on the spot to talk to you just a little bit. As Linda said, I think we've met with over 30 legislators now, and we want to share with you a little bit the case that we have been making to those legislators for the restoration of these funds.
Sorry, there's some disruption in my background. Hello, everybody. So I'm here to tell you that we have one legislative priority agenda item for the supplemental budget year. And the supplemental budget year is a 2-month session. So it's very short, it's very tight, and we have one major thing that we need to get done, and that is restoration of grad success funds. And as you've heard earlier in this presentation through Dawn, that we are like one hurdle over, which is a massive one, and that is getting $3.5 million into the governor's budget, of which both the Senate and the House will use as their guideline. And we just need to make sure that that money goes into the House budget and also into the Senate budget. So when Dawn and I have been meeting with all of our legislators, we have to make our case. Our case is, here's the problem. And through no fault of their own, we have heard that this population has high rates of mobility, so they perform worse on every educational outcome of their attendance grades, test scores, and graduation rates. And that happens because mobility. Could you imagine being a kid and moving from school to school to school, and then being able to like keep on top of your grades, make sure that you're getting enrolled in time? Like, it's next to impossible. So when we created Graduation Success, that has been like the most best strategic investment to help the state make sure that the kids that they are legally responsible for can close that educational gap. And we have been a proven partner in helping that happen. So when youth in care don't graduate, these are the things that happen. They experience high rates of unemployment, poverty, homelessness, and incarceration. And we want to disrupt that. 44% of youth that experience foster care also experience homelessness by the age of 17. 20% of those youth in foster care are arrested or jailed within 1 year. Those are horrible outcomes. These outcomes are a tragedy to our young people, and they're very expensive in the long run for our state. So $3.5 million now to have the footprint that we have in high populous areas is a much better deal than quadrupling that number if our kids experience homelessness, unemployment, or actually enter the DOC system. The solution that we have, when we started Grad Success in, I think, 2012, 2013, and as we hit that milestone when we got to 2017, the graduation rate for kids in foster care when we started was at 36%. It is now at 51%. So it's more than twice the rate of our general population in graduation rates. And that's at the 4-year level. The rate is even higher for kids that are persisting and doing 5, 6, and 7 year of graduation. We've also impressed upon our legislators that when kids go into care, the state legislators become the legal guardians of these kids, and they are responsible for them to make sure that they are safe and housed and also educated. There's a federal act where in the It's the Every Student Succeeds Act of 2015. It requires child welfare to make sure that there's educational stability for students in foster care. They check a box. It is Treehouse. When kids are enrolled in Grad Success, that is part of making sure that they have a stable educational platform. We're also a very good deal. We use state dollars and we also use our own private philanthropy dollars to match. When we were at our hole and we're like saturated across the state, it is $11 million that it cost to do this program. It was $7 million of the state and then $4 million of private philanthropy that made this partnership work. So we are still going to go forward and make that match. So that is the message that Dawn and I have been sharing with, like, I don't know, 30, 35, 40 and counting, because we still have meetings that are coming up. So that's what we've been sharing with everyone. We will have a Q&A section, but now I need to turn this over to Trevor Justin, who is our contract lobbyist. We also have another contract lobbyist that wasn't able to make it, Jim Justin, both of whom have spent a long time in Olympia. They're our eyes and ears on the ground, and we are so fortunate to have them as our lobbyist. Trevor, take the mic.
Yeah, thanks, Linda. Appreciate it. Good to see everybody here, and great to see all the energy on the call and all the great attendees. I think we have over 90 people on the call, so thanks for being here. Just kind of want to give a 2026 legislative session preview on kind of what the legislature is facing, and again, talk about our ask and how we plan to be successful during the 26th legislative session. As Linda and Don indicated, session starts on Monday, January 12th, so we're just about there. The legislature continues to be challenged fiscally with the state. The last legislative session, 2025, the legislature entered the session in about a $16 billion shortfall. They did a lot of work in the 2025 session, but with that work, they cut billions of dollars out of the underlying state budget and also raised significant revenue to the tune of about $9.5 billion in revenue this last legislative session. With that, the state is unfortunately not out of the woods yet. They're still struggling financially with increased caseload and other costs associated with state government. The governor released his budget the December 23rd, and I'll get into that in a second, but the governor indicated that the state is still facing about a $1.6 billion shortfall. That's over a $78 or so billion budget. So still a very significant amount of money that the state is facing in a shortfall. On top of that $1.6 billion shortfall, state agencies submitted budget requests to the governor. In addition to that $1.6, $2 billion in additional asks. In the governor's proposed budget that he rolled out to the legislature, he decided to fund $700 million of that $2 billion ask from state agencies. So that leaves the state, with that new $700 million that he funded and the $1.6 billion original shortfall, leaves the state about a $2.3 billion shortfall that they need to deal with in the 2026 session. So, again, the legislature is facing continued budget challenges, and they have holes that they still need to patch. The governor patched that $2.3 billion shortfall by closing a couple tax exemptions on large corporations. He drew about $1 billion from the state's rainy day fund. He also had about $780 million in reductions to state agencies after he added $700 million in those budget requests. And then he kind of tweaked some funds and did some fund transfers. So again, the great news is we were in the governor's proposed budget to the legislature. That is a huge first step. It's great to be in the first budget, but we make sure we want to be in the last budget that the governor signs into law. And that's what we're going to do over the next 2 months to make sure that we're in that final budget that is delivered to the governor. Again, $3.5 million in the governor's budget. It's a great first step. That's a big indication to us that, the full ask to reinstate the full funding that we were receiving previously was $7 million. Given the state's continued fiscal challenges, we think that $3.5 million is a great first step to getting back in the state budget for the Grad Success Program. And I think, we've talked to Don and Linda and the team, and we think that, if we can continue to instate that $3.5 million in the state budget, it would be a huge win, and we can continue to build on that funding going forward. I'll note that there's been a lot of discussion about an income tax on millionaires, or a millionaire's tax, as some people are calling it. The governor came out in strong support of this tax in his press release on December 23rd. I want to indicate, though, that even if the legislature passes that tax this coming session, funding from that new tax would likely not be drawn into state coffers and probably until 2027, 2028, even beyond that. So I think if that tax is passed, we can look at kind of instituting getting back to that $7 million level. But again, the state's got about a $2.3 billion shortfall that they need to address in this 60-day session. That's a lot of work to be done in just 2 short months. So if we can get to that $3.5 million level this coming session, and then build on that in future years, that would be a huge win for Treehouse. So we appreciate all the activity and all the support. Don, Linda, Jim, and I have been meeting, and the team have been meeting with legislators, the governor's staff, and others. I think we've had probably 30 or 35 meetings over the last couple months. The nice thing to hear from legislators is no one questions the program and the work that we do. No one says, I don't know if that's worth the investment. Every legislator we've talked to says that your programs are worth it. They work, they're helpful, they serve youth well, they serve foster youth well. It's just a resource problem. And that's what the state's been tasked with, trying to grapple with those significant fiscal challenges. So again, it's good that we're advocating and we're flagging this on legislators. This is a very high priority for legislators. We think we've heard good indication. This is probably one of the top items that they might have kind of messed up on this last session. And again, but we continue to advocate that we can get at least partial reinstatement of funding in this supplemental year. I think the difference between now and when budget proposals roll out near the end of February is continued advocacy from a lot of you all on this call and constituents to your legislators, the legislators where you all vote and you live in their districts, right? Don, Linda, and team and I have, met with legislative leadership and budget writers, but it always rings differently when they hear from constituents themselves. So, obviously we want to rally the troops and have you all reach out to your legislators, via phone, email, schedule meetings that you can come to in Olympia to mention this cut, and please ask for the reinstatement of funding for Treehouse. And that'll really be the difference to help us be successful over the next couple months. So I'll pause there. Happy to answer any questions. And Linda, Don, let me know if I missed anything.
I don't think you
Thanks.
have. I think you did a really great job. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. And we'll have time for some Q&A as well. So just to follow up on what Trevor is saying, now we come to the call to action part of our agenda. So we have options for you if you have 1 minute, if you have 5 minutes, if you have more time. And so the baseline, we want everyone on this call to please join our online advocacy center that keeps you up to date. When we have need to have folks contact their legislators, which will happen at key points throughout the session, we send out an email. This online tool that we have makes it super, super quick and easy for you to take action and send messages to your legislators. We pre-draft it for you. You can personalize them if you want. Strongly encourage extra credit if you personalize, particularly the subject lines, so that it doesn't look, the legislators aren't like, I got 50 of the same exact message. But yeah, we are asking everyone to please join the our online advocacy center. And there you go. There's the link there in the chat. I know some folks on this call are not signed up for the Advocacy Center because I've been looking at everyone's legislative districts lately to see who I might be able to call on to reach out to their legislators. So please, that would be the number one thing. And watch your email next week because we will launch our first advocacy alert of the session where we, for the first time, ask all of our legislators to ensure that this restoring our funding stays in the budget. So that's the first thing. That's if you have 1 minute. It quite literally takes 1 minute to take action on behalf of our young people in foster care. So if you have 5 minutes, I would really, and you are on social media, I would strongly encourage you to follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Am I missing any platforms that we want to uh, uh, we will be posting throughout session around updates and calls to action. And we need as many people to we need as many people to take action as possible. Last year, when we were advocating to retain our funding, renew our funding, we were able to generate 1,000 emails to the governor. That's the level of engagement it takes really to make a difference. We have met with most of the legislature leadership at this point, and Jim and Trevor have basically warned us that those legislators are not going to give Treehouse staff, let me, Jim, Linda, Trevor, are not going to grant us another meeting before the end of session because they've met with us. But we need ways to keep this issue front and center and high profile for them throughout session, which means they need to hear from their constituents. And so if you could follow us on social media and share posts that we post about so that more people see and can take action on our action alerts, that would really, really be helpful. So a couple of things that you can do if you have some more time. First of all, we would love for you to reach out to your legislator and request a quick meeting. It is more impactful than an email. You are more likely to get a meeting with your legislator than I am, even in my sort of professional role at Treehouse, because you are the people who vote for them. So you technically work for them. At this point, you would, I would say even I have not gotten a meeting longer than 15 minutes at this point. So it's a really quick thing to do. Most legislators are meeting virtually with folks, so it doesn't even require a trip to Olympia. It just takes a 15-minute Zoom call. We have some easy to follow instructions about how to set a meeting, how to know who your legislators are, how to set a meeting. And then we will also provide you with talking points and information. We're also happy to join those meetings as much as we possibly can, but they really want to hear from you. And then one very specific invitation on Thursday, January 29th, we are hosting our inaugural Treehouse Advocacy Day at the Capitol. And we will be in Olympia from about 8:30 in the morning until 2 p.m. We will gather all together and do a kickoff and training, and we will send groups of folks out in teams to meet with their legislators. And we are inviting board members, emeritus, tab members, donors, if you're interested, staff members to join us. We will be inviting youth and alum and caregivers to come with us as well. We will go and meet with as many of our legislators as we can arrange on that day. And then we will have a rally on the Capitol steps at noon and end with informal box lunch at the end of our time. We would love for you to join us. We would love to have a big group of people fanned out across the Capitol, having a great both presence in terms of meetings, but also visual presence on the campus. And we have some super fun Treehouse pennants that we will be making our presence known at the Capitol. And so if you are able to join us, please do let us know. If you can just join for part of the day, that's fine too. I know it's a big commitment to go all the way to Olympia to spend that amount of time. The commute is not short, as many of you know. We'll be doing some carpooling, but we would love to have you with us. The more voices and the more frequency we can have folks hearing about Treehouse, the better. If you were feeling really spicy, you could write a letter to the editor urging the legislature to make sure that it is taking care of its most marginalized and vulnerable students by restoring funding to ensure that young people graduate. I think in those cases, not mentioning Treehouse directly would be better, but we would love to have some of the same visibility happening in some of our newspapers around the state, not just the Times, but also in Spokane with the Spokesman Review, in Olympia. We're just trying to keep the visibility and the pressure high as we move through the session. We have a lot of work to do, but I would say we have a much, much better chance of a positive outcome given the inclusion in the governor's budget. So we're very, very excited to move into session in this strong position. So with that, I think we're going to open it up to some questions. If folks have questions for me or Linda, for Trevor, I'm happy to answer anything. And I will just say, in case folks have to hop off, we will be following up with you to let you know about all of these opportunities. Make everything as easy as we can, straightforward as we can. We know your time is valuable, and we just appreciate everything you have already done and everything that we know you will do in making sure that we are successful moving through this session. So any questions? You can throw them in the chat.
What was the date again?
It is Thursday, January 29th.
Thank you.
Lloyd, I see your hand.
There we go. Is the simple message support the governor's budget? I mean, if we have one line to deliver.
I think the simple message is retain funding for Treehouse's graduation success program in the final budget.
Okay. Thank you.
But we will get those exact words that you should say out to you. Yeah, it is. And we are really putting an emphasis on, this is not new money. We are using the words restore to make sure that we're impressing on the legislature that they are not they have not it's not the full amount. It's not anywhere near the full amount of the program, let alone the full amount of investment, because we want to lay the groundwork for future legislative sessions and increasing that state investment in the future. These are the young people for whom the state is legally responsible on the foster care side, and the state's paramount duty is education of our students. There is an argument to be made that the state actually should be paying for 100% of this program, but we'll work on that in future sessions.
And then just one quick comment. My legislators, all three, are doing a community forum tomorrow night. I think a lot of legislators might be doing that just before the session starts. So I would encourage people to check and see if that's happening in their own district in the next week.
Lloyd, I love you. That is exactly the thing you should be doing. If your legislator is hosting a town hall, this is a great opportunity to ask, raise your hand and ask a question, or urge them, in a public way to restore this funding for our most vulnerable students in foster care. I think it's a great way to get in front of them and also make sure other people know about the issue.
Yeah, Don, if I can just add, Lloyd, that's a great flag. Legislators usually do town halls kind of partially through halfway through the legislative session, so probably mid-February timeframe. So yeah, if that's a great venue to show up and attend and see your legislators in person. They do them in district. They go home for the weekend and usually do them on a Saturday or Sunday because they're busy during the week in Olympia, but they go home for a weekend and do town halls. And so that would be a great forum to show up, see your legislators, let them know you're a constituent and this is some funding you support and you'd like to see in the final budget that the legislature passes. So great flag.
Any other questions that we can answer? Let's see, we have some questions in our chat. Andy, I see your hand.
And I have to figure out how to come off mute. So, and it's been 5 years since we started the pandemic. So question for me is, you said this is a 2-month legislative session. Do I just email my legislator once, or are there different points in the process when I should keep bugging them?
That's a great question. We will certainly, as I said, we're going to launch our first advocacy action alert at the beginning of session, and there will be kind of critical points along the way where I just flagging the issue again would be helpful, and we will prompt you if you sign up for the online advocacy tool, because we'll know kind of when those key moments are. One thing to point out is that, I will be testifying in Olympia on probably Monday or Tuesday, waiting for the schedule to come out today, where the Senate Ways and Means Committee and the House Appropriation will hear the governor's budget for the first time, and it's our opportunity to testify. And then we'll launch our advocacy action alert shortly thereafter for asking folks to take action. And then we expect that the House and Senate budget proposals will come out, the state revenue forecast, the updated forecast, which is the final forecast that they use as their, how much money they have to work with, comes out somewhere around the 18th of February. And we expect the House and Senate budgets to come out the following week. And so there'll be another opportunity. It's going to be one of those critical moments to testify again and to contact legislators again. So be watching for that. But you can just count on us to flag when those key moments of contact are needed.
I'll just add too that budget writers are certainly already working on their budgets. So, kind of flagging issues for them, the sooner the better, so they can have it on their radar and put it in those budget deliberations as they debate.
Sabrina, I see your hand.
Yes, I realize that there's a separate chat. People may not see it. There's a Q&A chat. People can post questions in there. And my question is, I know you and Linda have done this so often. You're so used to talking to legislators. I think some people might be a little bit nervous about the idea of it. What's it like in that 15-minute meeting? So what actually happens during that meeting?
I think they're all like a little bit different based on who the legislator is, how long they've been in office, what their specific leadership roles are, what committees they serve on, how aware they are of foster care or of the specific needs of students in foster care. So they're all a little bit different. We can help decode that for you just a little bit if you're willing to take that step of meeting with a legislator. I know it can feel a little intimidating, but they are really like normal people. Many of our legislators actually have foster care experience. Many of our legislators are educators. There are a couple folks in the legislature, for example, who are school counselors. And so I think sometimes when you learn a little bit more about them before your meeting, and what their interest is, that makes it a little bit less intimidating. Also helps you understand whether or not you have something in common. That you can mention, maybe your kids went to the same school, or you both have an interest in ultimate frisbee or something. I don't know. I'm making this up, but yeah, they go very quickly. 15 minutes is not a lot of time. By the time you do meet and greet and like introductions, you usually only have, about 10 minutes, to make a point. We can also provide you with, some of the key questions that we get asked as we've been moving through these meetings. We've been kind of honing the message. We're finding, for example, that the legal argument really resonates with a lot of legislators. These are the young people for whom you are legally responsible. You have a special responsibility to this group of students. And that is really resonating. But the program works, is showing efficacy, I think is also, I think there's so much coming at them. It's very difficult for them to track every single issue. And so the more that, we can provide just high level, evidence of impact, and I think makes a big difference as well. And we have all of that kind of dialed in, and a great legislative 2-pager that you can reference as well. So you'll have lots of tools and information at your disposal. Mostly, the only sentence you really need to get out of your mouth is, please, I urge you to retain this and restore this funding, and maybe a personal statement about why this matters to you. I think that's connecting kind of on an emotional level. Legislators are human too, right? They care about kids. They care about our kids doing well. And I think when you speak from your heart, it really makes an impact.
Thank you. That sounds much more doable now.
I know it's a little bit intimidating the first time you do it. My heart still races every time I testify in front of a committee. You have, maybe we'll post our testimony. You get 1 minute to say the thing. You have to tell them who you are,
my gosh.
what you want in 60 seconds, because there are about, several hundred people that want to put in their 2 cents on the budget. So.
Wow. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. Any last questions that we can answer? Barbara.
Hi. So something that I just learned about yesterday was the virtual meetings, that you can have these legislative meetings virtually. I was wondering if you could kind of share about that process and what that's like, how it's similar or different or anything.
Yeah, it's pretty, I would say it's pretty similar. I mean, you're either sitting down in someone's office in Olympia, or you're meeting virtually, do quick introductions, and then sort of make your case, make your pitch. That I think also may feel a little bit more accessible to folks, again, with the travel time and the commute and everything. We are meeting both in person and virtually, depending on what works for the legislator. But almost everyone is taking some amount of virtual meetings. Just I think that is actually one really important gift that COVID gave us, was it made the legislative process much, much more accessible, in terms of being able to testify remotely, to be able to meet remotely. You don't have to go to Olympia. It makes Olympia a little bit less untouchable, a little bit more of the people. So.
Thank you.
Any final comments, questions that we can answer? All right. Well, as I said, thank you for everything you've done up until this point. This outcome that we have achieved is because we have made as much noise as we have, and we have so many people behind us. We have lots and lots of work still to do. We're counting on you. Please come with us on January 29th. We would love to have you with us. And thank you for all the things that we know you're going to be doing in the next 60 days. Very short, compressed time. I would say the next 30 days are really critically important. So it's going to be a little fast and furious. I should maybe plug, Linda, that we do have a call that we do every 2 weeks, where we just do, it's 30 minutes. We do a quick update on everything that's happening and what action we need to take now. And if you want to follow along through the whole legislative session, we'd love to have you with us. I think you had links at the beginning of our chat to sign up for our the e-news list, and we can make sure that you get an invitation to join us for those calls, or just let any one of us know. We'd love to have you with us throughout session as we ride this ride. All right, Christian, Linda, you're going to close us out?
We're at 12:57. Christian, where are you?
Where am I? How am I feeling, Linda? I'm going to tell you how I'm feeling. I am so anxious. I want this meeting to get done with, so I can go boop, 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 copy, paste, send it off to my legislative. It's like that easy. I'm telling
So
you, you guys are
basically,
giving me
what
the tools to be able to throw the information out to our state legislative. So I am pumped. I am so ready. I would say I'm more pumped than I was for my wedding, but I'm not going to say that right now. I know. She's in the other room. So she's in the other room. But I think we have a couple questions though, right? We wanted some people to come off their mic, do a little reaction, right? Like who here is
yeah,
going to
like
do this stuff?
what are people? We have 63 people. At our height, we were at 93. So of the 63 people that are still hanging on with us, what are you going to do in your 1 minute, your 5 minute, or your 15 minute? Who's going to come off their mic and tell us what you're going to do to help support Treehouse, keep our restoration of $3.5 million? I'm going to call on people. I'm more than happy to call on people. Who's going to jump off the mic? Or actually, you can raise your virtual hand or raise your human hand of like what you're going to do. Christian, do you want to like give the options?
Yeah, definitely. So we got like, if you'll go up to your little react button, I mean, you got the thumbs up, you got the heart, you got the clapping, you got the laughing, which is kind of cool, but and then you got the, I don't know, what is that? Like a surprise look. So why don't y'all start throwing up a thumbs up, clapping? Who's gonna take on this challenge?
Well, which challenge? They have many. They have many things they can do. They can
got the
email
1
their
minute?
legislator. They can go to the town hall. They can do a letter to the editor. They can, come to Advocacy Day on the 29th and meet with their legislator. And I see that Sherry has her hand up. Is she going to say anything or is she going to tell us what she's doing?
Oh, I am going to say something because I will
Oh.
go to the town hall. I will come to the legislative update or updates every other week on Fridays that are short and awesome. And I will email my legislators using the incredibly helpful and oh so quick form that you've provided. And I will change the subject line when I send that email so that it doesn't just look like a copy paste to the person who receives it.
Way to go, Sherry. You've thrown down the gauntlet. You're doing it all. So I'm hoping that others will either do 1, 2, or all 3, maybe even 4 when you're, oh, John Holt, what are you going to do for us? You just happen to pop up in my screen. That's why I'm picking on you.
I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do.
I love that, John. I love to boss people around. So Don and I will be in touch with you. Oh, and I hope you can come to Olympia on the 29th. We would love to have you there. We would love to have most of you all there. I have room for 80 seated. So, the invitation is wide open. If you can take the day off, spend 6 hours with us, we would love it. Meet with your legislator or your 3 reps in person day of. That would be amazing. If you cannot do that, that's when the virtual meeting comes in handy. And then we are more than happy to support you all with that and also give you like a staff member, me, Dawn, Christian, anybody could be there with you. So that's our ask. It's 101. We went over time. Thank you all for coming today. It was amazing. And we will push out all of this stuff for you all so you have it at your disposal. You can contact me and Dawn if you have questions about, what you need to do, how you need to write it. We're here for you.
Linda, question for you though.
Yes.
Will I see you on the 29th?
Of course. I'd be fired if I wasn't there.
I'm going to hang out with you. We're going to see everybody here on the 29th.
All right, y'all. Good seeing your faces. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.